Today we're going to work on making a base like this for your miniatures. It's just a piece of insulation and then some hot glue on top. These are just some of the normal standard bases for a miniature instead of a bike. You can see there. So you'll need a paintbrush, craft knife, a marker, pen, pencil of sorts, black paint, white paint, any type of blue paint. You'll need a palette, some insulation, toilet paper for the dry brushing, and hot glue to make the icy snow effect on the top. If you wanted, you could use some of this to do your snow effect, but I like this kind of look personally. It might look a bit cartoony, but you can also use it for doing lava or sludge on the bottom of a tank maybe. It's up to yourself what you want to do with it, but I prefer the hot glue than the baking soda. So let's get to it. So what we're going to start with is marking out the size of the insulation that we need to cut. So I'm just taking the base of the bike and drawing it onto the bottom of the insulation. After this, just cut it out and then we can get started with the detail work. What I actually used to cut this out was a serrated bread knife, because the craft knife is a little bit shorter and this one is slightly flimsy, so it wouldn't have gone down far enough to cut it out. So once you have your shape out, you got to decide which way you want it to go. Do you want it to be flat on the base? Do you want it to be sloped in a particular way? But we need to take this down to size. It's way too big for a miniature. You don't want to be playing a game with your miniature this height. So what you got to decide is what way you want to slope it. Do you want it going up, down, sideways, whatever way. So once you've decided that, with the position of the bike, so it's just a Ravenwing biker from Dark Vengeance. So he looks like he could probably drive on a flat or on a little bit of a downhill. Will probably work best with this. So I think I'll go with a downhill for this guy. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cut it to the slope that we want. We don't want it to be too steep so it's not like this, and it's quite unrealistic, so a nice kind of gradient. So again, we're using the bread knife. Remember, always cut away from yourself and watch your fingers. So now we have a nice little slope and we can stick our bike on. It's still a bit big for a miniature, so we need to take it down again. Cut the base off. Again, watching the fingers and cutting away from yourself. Always remember to cut away from yourself when you're doing something like this. So we have a nice little slope going down and our biker fits right on. So that's the first step. Now all we have to do is make this piece of insulation or styrofoam look like a rocky hill. So this is where your craft knife comes in. You're going to cut chunks away, watching your fingers at all times to make it look like a rocky cliff. You just cut randomly into it until you get the desired effect and you're happy with it. It doesn't have to be exact, or it doesn't have to look exactly like a cliff. Whatever you feel comfortable with. What you want to do is just add in a little bit of an effect to make it look like stepped stones. So try and get that there for the camera to see. Something like that there. So you can only see the stepped effect, but stones aren't always going to be that straight and undamaged. So just kind of hack at it a little bit with the blade. A bits come off, it doesn't matter, it's going to give it a more realistic effect when we start dry brushing it up. So just be careful when you're cutting the shapes out. So this side here is completely flat, it looks nothing like a rock. This one isn't much better, but we can work on that in a minute. So you can drag your knife along the edge, kind of give it a roughed up effect. It's not going to look much like a rock face from there. So what you want to do is cut shapes out of the edge of the rock face, as if rain has got in and corroded away parts of the cliff face. Just pick a face of the knife at random intervals and different directions. See, you're starting to get a bit more of a rock effect from there. Just keep going until you're happy and you have all the sides done. This is messy work, so you'll probably want to do it somewhere where it's well ventilated and that you're not going to care about cleaning up afterwards, because this stuff gets everywhere once you start cutting it. So I've just cut the insulation at random bits so I can make it look a little less like a smooth block with flat edges. So next thing you're going to want to do is try the bike on it and see, or the unit, to see how it looks. So I'm happy with that. Next thing to do is use your hot glue, glue the insulation to the base and prime it in the black acrylic paint. After that we'll let it dry and we'll start dry brushing on some greys. I've used the hot glue to stick the insulation to the base. I'm just going to get some black acrylic paint, Mars Black. Get your brush and just brush a heavy coat of the acrylic paint all over the model, and make sure to get into all the little crevices and holes, and make sure it's a smooth all over coat. If you have to apply 2 or 3 coats, do so to cover all of the yellow or whatever colour your styrofoam is, because otherwise it will ruin the effect that we're going to try and achieve. I'll be back when this is finished and dry. I'm going to mix up a dark grey first. It's the first of the greys that we're going to apply. See if we can get the colour we want. I think that there should probably do it. What I'm going to do is wipe off as much of the paint as we can. Like that. And brush over the whole model. And just keep doing that until you have the whole model covered with that colour. I didn't mention what there was, keep dry brushing the layer on. Don't put a solid layer on, just a little bit of a dry brush. And just when that's done, I'll be back to apply the next layer. That layer has been applied, and now we're going to mix up a lighter grey and do the same again. You don't have to mix the colours the same as me, mix it to what you're happy with. And the same process again. Wipe off as much of the paint as possible on your piece of tissue paper, and then dry brush it onto the model. Now we're going to start applying the lighter colours to try and give it the effect of looking like stone. So apply more white into the mix. You get a colour you're happy with, and make sure there's no pure white left on your brush. And the Same thing again, we're going to dry brush. So scrape off as much paint as you can on your tissue, and then brush over the whole figure. It's a very slow gradient because of the way the colours are used from the dark upwards, so it'll take a couple of coats before, a bit off camera there, sorry, before you start to see some change. Now after this one I'll apply a very light grey. That'll bring it up a bit more, and then we'll see after that how it looks, if it'll need another one or not. So I'll let this dry in a bit and then apply the next colour. And you see there, some of the bits are actually some of the styrofoam is actually starting to show through because this brush is a bit stiff and it is pulling away at the styrofoam, so I'll have to fix that up. But I'll see you when this is dry. So I got me some fresh tissue. I've mixed up a lighter grey. I'm actually going to mix that up a little bit more and make it lighter again. Try and make sure that there's no pure white left on the brush. Scrape off a load of the paint and then apply it to the mouth. So you see there, the grey is starting to take shape on the model. So again, I'm just going to dry brush the whole model in the same colour and I'll be back for the next layer. Again, just applying more white to the mix to change the tone. Then we're going to dry brush up again. Might be hard to see the change on camera, but I can see the change in the tone there. So hopefully it will show up on this now. Maybe I took too much paint off the dry brush, but sure, we might as well just keep going with it. Can you see that? No, we need more paint. Kind of see the grey starting to lighten up a bit there at the edges. That's what you want over the whole thing each time you apply a layer. You want, there we go, that's what I was looking for. You want the grey to change by getting lighter each time you apply a layer to give it the effect of looking like stone. And this is how I go about it anyway. I'm sure there's better ways of doing it, but I just said I'd show you how I done it. I think one more layer of a light grey and we're ready to start applying the blue, and we're nearly done that. So we'll be back in just mixed a very light grey again, lighter than the last coat, and we're just going to give it a quick going over. We're not even going to try and scrape the paint off with this. Let's put it off camera again. So now we're starting to get that greyish rock effect that I was looking for. If you can see too much white there, for example, try and spread it out a bit so it doesn't look that you you painted it. It looks more like a rock. That'd be the best way of describing it. It's going to catch on some of the edges. That's the whole idea of dry brushing. Highlight the edges and whatnot. But you don't want too much of a highlight compared to the rest of the piece because it won't look realistic. And we're going for realistic. Doesn't matter too much about the top because we're putting hot glue over that, so the holes don't matter. We're going to paint the hot glue white then to resemble ice or snow or whatever else. So I think I'll stop painting on the top now. As soon as this layer of paint is dry, because it's going to take a few minutes to dry with it not being, excuse me, a proper dry brush, we're going to wait for that to dry, and then if you want to add more layers yourself to change the colour, you can. It's up to you on how you want to do it, but I'm going to start adding the blue then to give it that effect of looking like it's frozen. It doesn't look great, but I like the way it looks. So I'll see you when this is dry. So that layer is dry now, and I've poured some blue on my palette where I had the grey, and we're just going to try and dry brush some of the blue onto the surface of the stone. Remember, it doesn't matter what colour blue you use. This camera is pretty bad quality, so it looks a lot worse than it actually is. Just the same again as what we were doing. Add the blue as a dry brush, let it dry, and then we're just going to start building up with different tones. Going to mix some white into the blue and apply another layer. Maybe a bit more white. Scrape off some of the excess, and away we go. Now it's starting to take shape to what I done on my first base. So we'll go again with the same, add more white to the colour. Scrape off excess with dry brush and apply the next layer. These two layers will blend a little bit because they didn't fully dry before I applied the next one. That light blue there is the effect we're going for overall. So just keep applying layers until you're happy. And then we can add the hot glue. The hot glue is heated up. Now we're going to apply the hot glue all over the top. Just want to make sure you don't burn yourself. It's pretty sore. Just go up and down, build up the layers. It will smooth out itself, it'll level out on its own. Doesn't matter where I put it because it'll level out, so just making sure I get it all over the top. Put some down along the edge because it'll run anyway. So hopefully it'll run down and give the effect like it's over the top. Yeah. So I don't know how much of that I missed off camera, which was very inconsiderate of me. But all I did was apply hot glue all over the top. And it's going to run wherever it wants to run itself, and it'll level out. Once that's dry, all we have to do is paint it white and use more hot glue to stick the biker to it. So we'll be back when that's dry. So the glue is more or less dry now. Yeah, so I'm going to get some white paint and just start painting over it. Might take a couple of layers to get the white paint to give you a smooth coverage, but I'd recommend letting each layer of white paint dry before applying the next. I suppose this could also be used for lava, but stuff the Space Marines there, I don't think their bikes would be able to drive through lava, so It's up to yourself what you want to do with this. I'm just showing you how I made this sort of base. If anyone wants to see, or if anyone wants me to make one on how to do a lava base, just leave comments below and I will get back to you. So I just got the first layer of white on, let it dry, and then we're gonna stick the bike on, and that will be that. Be right back. I applied a second layer of the white paint, which you have to remember is snow's going to be pristine white if there's a big heavy space marine bike travelling over it, so I left some of the bits showing through a bit of grey, as if the snow wasn't that thick or there was stone underneath it, or just to kind of add an effect to it. So I'm going to heat up the hot glue gun and glue this biker on. Just gluing the biker on now. And maybe I'm not, the glue's gone hard already. Gonna have to do that again. Be right back. I've applied glue to the bike again, and this time hopefully he will stick. There we go. I'll just, when the glue dries, I will take away some of the excess with a hobby knife. But that's how I went about making my ice base. So, thumbs up if you liked the video. Please comment, rate and subscribe, and if you want more tutorials, let me know. Happy wargaming.